In the last episode, we configured our working NA10 and OpenAI access key. Now, if your prompt feels random, the results will be too. Today, I'll show you how tokens, prompts, and a context drive quality and how to keep the costs predictable. Let's talk about what are tokens, prompts, and a context. LLM models read text in chunks called tokens. It's roughly about 3/4 of every word in English. We'll have a look at an example in a second. Don't obsess over the exact counts just now. Longer text simply means more tokens, and more tokens means more costs. Let's have a look at OpenAI tokeniser. Here you can see a sample prompt that's used for GPT-4 and GPT-4 Mini. You can see this first sentence breaks up into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 tokens. So this first sentence is 15 tokens. It's important to say that emojis also represent tokens. Like this hand over here is represented by 4 tokens. A number at the same time, it doesn't mean that each digit is going to be a separate token. They're still grouped together, and those groups are counted as tokens. Now it's important to say LLMs, they predict the next token. Each of these tokens represented as numbers. The LLM doesn't necessarily see a word for a word. It simply sees which number, which ID of a token likely predicts the next ID of the token. Why it's important to understand the impact of the tokens. Tokens directly impact the cost, and I'll show you a sample calculation in a minute. In the last session, you configured API key to access API application programming interface from OpenAI to integrate the NA10 with ChatGPT. Now, the costs of the models vary greatly based on which model is selected. For example, GPT-5, they charge $1.25 for 1 million of input tokens and $10 for 1 million of output tokens. Let's not worry about the cash at the moment. Now you could see a different model, like a GPT-5 Mini, will charge 5 times less for the same number of tokens. This means when you configure your agent, depends which model you selected over here, this will directly impact how much it's going to cost you. And that impact is huge. Could be 5 times, can be 10 times more. For example, GPT-5 Pro charges $15 1 million token, and the output is $120. When we did it, we selected GPT 4.1, which is $3 a million tokens. But if we were to select GPT 4.1 Mini, that would be more than 3 times cheaper. When designing the prompt for your agent, you should consider frameworks such as role, action, outcome framework, because a fuzzy prompt, undefined prompt will unlikely to produce a good result. Here's the simple structure that you could use for every single of your prompt, and that's exactly what we will be using for our agent. Point number 1 is role. What should the AI act as? This sets the knowledge, tone, and expectations. Example, you're a senior data analyst writing for executives. Point number 2 is action. The task needs to be clear and needs to be in testable terms. Example, show me the latest orders from a client Alfie. And last one is outcome. Expected results in a format. Example, return a markdown table. You bundle role, action, and outcome into a single prompt. You will get fewer tangents and a more board-ready answers from your AI agent. Before we dive into example prompt, another one to consider that what are tools? Tools of AI agents are third-party software and databases with explanations on how to use them. Sort of like human employees use CRM to store customer information or account software to store invoices and receipts. So agents use tools to retrieve data, update data, and execute calculations. These tools must come with clear instructions for the agent on how to use them. In our case, our agent is using Google Sheets, Memory, and Calculator as the main tools for doing its job. Let's talk about context. Context is the model's working memory. Your initial prompt, that question that you ask, chat history, retrieved documents that you might have loaded. It's all bounded by context length and often referred to as a context window. That bigger window costs more, but you need to manage the context well because that will allow you to save money and also will allow you to get better and more accurate answers from your AI. All right, for the practical side, we'll create the first basic prompt in NA10, run it, we'll see the tokens, counts, and logs, then we'll break it up into costs, and we will remove the prompt to see how it breaks so we could fix it later. The prompt that we're going to be using is show me the latest orders from client Alfie. You can see on the screen how the agent is working. It's called for its memory, it called for a chat model, it also called for additional tools, and it produced us a result. For this agent, it took 113,254 tokens for the input, and that is total prompt. So it's important to say the overall prompt wasn't just my 7 words or so. The overall prompt ended up to be 113,000 tokens. And the completion itself, the result that it produced, the output, is 340 tokens. So that query, how much has it cost us? GPT 4.1 charges $3 for 1 million tokens. So we have a $3 and we used 113,000 out of a million. So that query cost us 33 cents for the input tokens. The output tokens, because it was only 300 words or so, the output token was an insignificant amount. What this 113,000 tokens is made out of? It's made out of multiple tool calls, and it's also made out of full prompt that was sent with a full context to the LLM. Now that's the power of the full production-ready prompt. Let's remove our prompt and let's see how agent will behave without it. If I take our prompt, copy it, save it into Notepad for now, so we could come back to it later on. Here's our agent without full and complete prompt on how to behave. Now, if we ask it to do exactly the same thing as before, show me the latest orders from Alfki, without our full prompt, the agent produced a completely different type of result. Produced the same orders, it found additional information, but because we did not follow the role paradigm, it did not produce the actual results in the form of a table. And from a personal experience, without proper system prompt, it won't also produce the good results consistently. It sometimes will take arbitrary decision about what it should do, in what order, and how to produce it. Now that you learned about role, action, outcome, tokens, and the context, let's decompose the full production prompt to see what's inside of it. This section shows you how to add specific instructions, known as prompts, to an AI agent. We do this to make responses of our AI agents more structured and reliable. Let's walk through an example using a pre-built customer support agent. We're wiring a customer support agent for agentic order manager. The agent identifies a customer, lists their orders, and show order line items. Reliably, 1 tool per turn, and always uses British English. Let's have a look at how our N8N workflow is configured. You have AI agent chat messages arrive this way, and this is our customer support agent. Now to add the prompt inside the agent, double click on this agent and you will see a page like this, which contains all the configurations of this agent. To set or view the prompt instruction, you have to click on this button. First, you see our definition to the agent about how it should behave. It says you are a support agent for an agentic order manager. This can of course be saying any kind of company, but most importantly that it's a customer support agent. Then we specify tools and what those tools are doing. This tool's description been added here to improve consistency of AI interacting with Google Sheets. Without these additional instructions, it will still work, but simply gonna work less reliably. Then we go on to add rules about how we want the agent to behave. We ask to begin every user visible reply with a polite confirmation of question. We ask it to use British English at all times. Since we are in the UK, we specify to use a 1 tool call per turn. That again just improves the quality of it, improves consistency. We specify to use 1 customer ID, order ID values for when returned, and this number needs to be exact. Provide additional information, such as that it must have a valid ID for each of the customers, and that if it can't find it, it needs to go and search for the additional information within the tools themselves. Then we go on to explain the workflow of how the agent should work, how it should be identifying the customers, how it should be listing it, how it should be showing the order details, and how it should be using the date ranges. With this information, the agent knows exactly how to use the tools, how to communicate with the user, in what way, how to use the words, how to be polite, and also how to execute the full workflow end-to-end in what order. These steps is what drives the quality of the tool. These steps is what allows the agent to complete the work reliably. It's comparable to when you hire a junior employee that arrives within your business. You provide them with the business processes and you provide them with the training on how to use the tools. The only difference with LLMs that because they don't necessarily persist between different chats and sessions. You have to remind it and give it instructions every single time in the prompt. Now, the agent is configured with a number of tools. If you double click on them, these also have additional configuration. Each of the tool has a specific description about how to use it. That description is also passed to the agent when the agent is running information. You can allow for agent to make certain decisions, or of course, this can be configured within the tool itself. Now you need to know each of your tool and what it does and what information it expects and what information it provides. And that information needs to be specified within the tool configuration. So each tool will be different. We have a basic tool, a calculator. Because calculator is self-explanatory, it does not provide any additional information. That's the prompt engineering in practice. Using a prompt like this, with an accurate tool specification, with accurate instructions and accurate behavior, you will be able to guarantee that your other AI agents also behave to the point and produce reliable results every single time. In the next episode, we'll talk about tools and how to configure Google Sheets for the AI agent.